News link on eNCA. Now, the ANC in Mpumalanga is holding its first Provincial Executive Committee meeting today, but the composition of the leadership has already been questioned. Newly elected Treasurer Mandla Msibi has been asked to step aside as he faces criminal charges. He accepted the position in absentia this past weekend. Lindokuhle Xulu is following developments and joins us now. Lindo, one assumes that Mandla Msibi's absence at the first PEC meeting would be quite the talking point. What's the latest?
Well, we do know that Mandla Msibi is not going to attend this particular first Provincial Executive Committee meeting here at the Sebande district. And this is because we know that he has since accepted that suggestion, or rather responded to that letter from the Treasury General of the ANC's office to ask him on whether he wants to continue in stepping aside. And I can tell you that we've since confirmed with the man himself, saying that he has in fact responded to that. He sent a letter to say that he is once again stepping aside, this time around as the Provincial Treasurer of Mpumalanga. He's stepping aside and he is allowing the process of the courts to actually take place. But within that step aside, he's explained to us once more that he still maintains that he is innocent, and he says that in no time he will be making a court application to go and clear his name, because he says the docket that they've recently acquired as the defense simply shows that he is not charged, and therefore he wants to then go to the courts, clear up that issue, and thereafter we understand that he'll be then trying to appeal to the Provincial Executive Committee that is sitting here today to say that he must be reinstated as in fact the Provincial Secretary. So at this stage I can tell you that the Treasurer rather, but at this stage he's stepped aside and he says that he will wait for the court to clear his name.
You know, on that part of the being charged or not charged, it's a very confusing one, Lindokuhle, because our understanding is that he's out on bail. And when somebody's out on bail, there were charges put to him. So is he not charged, or what exactly is happening? Because we know he looked through the docket and took you through it, Lindo, but it's very confusing as to whether he's charged, he's out on bail for what?
Well, I can tell you that the reason why he says he's not charged is essentially saying that upon inspecting the evidence that they have in terms of that docket that he has recently acquired, he says that he and his legal team do not see the link in terms of the charges of double murder, but also he says that on the charge of attempted murder, he was in fact told by the investigating officer in court to say that he's been charged because the person who survived that shooting has identified him. Now, upon inspecting this docket, he says that the actual affidavit and statement of the person who survived says that he saw the person who shot him. He in fact is not aware of who this person is, but he says that if needed, he could identify this person, but to him, this is an unknown person. And Mandla Msibi is essentially arguing that to say that if this person says that he saw the perpetrator and he says that that person is an unknown person, surely that then absolves him from this particular case, because if it was Mandla Msibi, he would have been easily to identify someone who has served in the ranks of the ANC. And this is a person who was with other members of the ANC, the person who is a victim in this case. So it does say that some of the evidence they have within their possession simply has no links to him in terms of the double murder charge, but also the attempted murder charge. So that's what he means when he says he hasn't been charged. What he wanted to do with this evidence was to in fact present it to the PEC, the newly elected PEC, and let them guide him in terms of what he must do, whether he should step aside or not. But one of the things we saw was that subsequent to the PEC being elected, the Treasurer General from the National Office of the ANC is the one who sent a letter to say that we're expecting essentially that you must step aside. And today we hear that Mandla Msibi confirming that he has since sent a letter to the Provincial Secretary to step aside, and we understand that this might be because of the pressures from the NEC, but his stance is that he's an innocent man, and he wanted to prove this before the Provincial Executive Committee elected, but unfortunately it does seem that there are pressures that he has since gave into.
All right. So perhaps with him it was the phrasing. He is charged, but he does not agree with the charges of murder, double murder and attempted murder. That's where it should be. But then insofar as the PEC meeting today, what do we expect to be matters that are top of the agenda for Mpumalanga's executives?
Well, surely that is one of the top agendas, the one of Mandla Msibi, the step aside. But I'm sure it won't take too much time for them to explain it because he's complied essentially with the guidelines of the ANC. But there is another issue that is quite contentious in Mpumalanga. And in fact, the elected chairperson, that is Mandla Ndlovu, said that one of the things he wants to do first within the ANC in the province as he takes over the reins is to actually ensure that lobby groups, which many of us had perceived as in fact factions within this province that saw a bloodshed, that saw squabbles among ANC cadres, he said that he wants to ensure that he disbands all of these lobby groups that were going into the conference. But more than anything, he wants to unite this particular province of Mpumalanga that I believe, according to many, has not seen unity among its cadres. So that is another thing we're expecting to hear him say, because essentially he's extended his hand to all of those that were opposing him, that were with him, but he says that everyone must now disband their lobby groups and start working together towards improving this particular province.
That sounds like a great approach. I mean, looking at Nasrec, we believe some of those lobby groups still exist to this day. So for Mpumalanga to take this position, particularly Mandla Ndlovu, to say we need to start by dismantling the lobby groups, we now need to unite. There is no longer politicking or vying for certain positions. It's very, very commendable.
It's going to be difficult, commendable, but a difficult one, because among these lobby groups, we do know that there were those from Focus, those from NI, and essentially these lobby groups are not just small lobby groups within the province, but they also have their support in terms of those that would be looking for standing for leadership positions within the conference that is coming in December. So it's uniting people that are actually going to move towards the December conference where national leadership will be elected once more. It's something that's going to prove quite difficult. But more than anything, we've saw in a couple of years since 2017, when David Mabuza vacated the office of the chairperson, that it was already a political turmoil with leaders fighting among each other, leaders looking to advance their plight in terms of taking up leadership positions. But we are at a stage now where leaders have been elected by the branches according to the ANC. That was a process that was vindicated by that court bid that was defeated. But essentially it is going to be a difficult task to unite all of these lobby groups that we do know in their essence were formed in terms of the different leaders that they are supporting when it comes to the national conference.
No, most certainly a very difficult one. 3 groups, Refilm 20's group, Lakin Zinisa's group, and Mandla Ndlovu's group, which has emerged victorious. Lindo, thank you very much for that update. We'll catch up with you a bit later. That's our reporter Lindokuhle Xulu out in Mpumalanga.